Okay, welcome to lecture 1.2. Actually, I forgot about some things in lecture 1.1. So, real quick, I want to give just a little bit more about the setup of the course. Okay. First of all, I mentioned the homework. Uh, One thing, the homework will not be due the day of the class. I want you to turn it in approximately 2 days before. Okay, you'll email it to me. Um, I put in the syllabus exactly when it'll be due, and then usually on your homework assignment, I'll write when it will be due. Um, and you can email it to me. Let's see. I'm fine if hopefully you'll type it up in Word or something like that. But you don't have to. You can do it, just write it. That's fine. One thing though, I like to print out your homeworks, and if some people ask, well, can I take a photo of it? That's fine. Although my printer, it takes a very long time to print those cases where you take a photo. That's fine if you have to do that maybe once, but if you want to handwrite it, I want you to have some sort of uh, technology on your printer that you can actually scan it. Send me a scanned version, not a photo version. It's fine if you're late and you're in an emergency, you have to take a photo. If you do it once, that's fine. But usually they end up having a red tint. It uses all the ink on my printer, and it's hard for me to read. I kind of hate those photo versions. I much prefer the scanned version. And if you feel motivated, I kind of like the type versions, but that I don't really care that much. The key is not the photo version. So scan version of a handwritten version, or a type version. That's what I prefer. But I want you to send me the homework 2 days earlier, 2 days before the class. Now, here's why I want it early: is because I want you to read these papers before the class. So usually for the session, so by the way, we have one session a week, so that one session will involve something like a 2.5 hour lecture. Um, Usually, what I will do is just pick one paper, sometimes two, but it usually be just one paper. We're going to really go into depth that one paper. And so I want you to read that one paper very carefully. Okay. Quick anecdote. When I was a grad student, I remember one time the professor asked us, "Oh, have you read the paper?" And like none of us raised our hand. And one of my friends, his name was Clark, raised his hand and he said, "Well, I looked at every word of the paper." When he said that, we kind of knew exactly what he meant. You read it like you're reading a novel, and it's a 20-page paper. You could do that in an hour, say, or maybe 2 hours, I'm thinking. But these academic papers, you got to spend some to really understand them. You can't do it in 2 hours. And so what Clark had done is he looked at every word, but he said, I really didn't read it. I didn't quite understand it. Um, a tip for you all. I've been in academia for let's see, I got my PhD in 92. As I described, this as 2021, so that's almost 30 years. One thing I've found is that when you read an academic paper, spend either 10 hours reading it or 10 minutes. Don't spend anything in between, okay? There's a lot of papers you just kind of want to know what it's a little bit about. You read the abstract, maybe a few paragraphs of the introduction, maybe the first paragraph or two of the setup, skim through, look at Proposition 1, Proposition 2, try to get an idea of what it's about and make a mental note. If I ever want to look up this paper, I know what it's about. Um, there's other papers, like papers in this course, where I want you to read them very carefully. You almost need to take as much time reading it as the author took writing it. And so if there's theory involved, you got to write notes. If there's any kind of equations, you're almost rewriting all the equations on your notepad, next to the paper that you're reading, and you're trying to go through the proofs on your own, and you're taking a lot of time and really trying to understand the paper. Um, to really understand a paper, that's what it takes. There have been times I've had papers where I've spent almost a whole week doing nothing but trying to understand that paper. There's one paper actually. Um, it's a paper by one of my old professors, Bob Wilson, just won the Nobel Prize. That guy is so smart, but he's too smart for his own good. He writes in a way that the rest of us can't understand, and just trying to understand what he is talking about takes so much time. One of his papers, I bet I spent probably 3 weeks of like 8 to 10 hours each day for 3 weeks trying to understand it. So sometimes there's papers where you really have to take a long time to understand it. Now, in between, where you spend like Clark did, my friend Clark, just looking at every word, where you spend, an hour to 3 hours on it, usually that's wasted. You don't get anything more than the 10 minutes you would have gotten just skimming it. So, my advice, either just skim it, get the basic idea, take 10 minutes, or read it really carefully and spend like 10 hours on it. Okay. Now, for this course, each week, there's going to be one paper, sometimes maybe two, where I want you to read them that way. You spend 10 hours that way. And I want you to start them before I do the lecture. And so what that means, for that reason, I want you to do the homework early, turn it in early. If I allow you to work on it until just before the class starts, there's no way you'll spend the time reading it. So turn in the homework early, then you'll have day and a half at least, sometimes 2 days, that you can hopefully devote just to reading that paper. And we'll devote most of our attention just to that one paper, sometimes maybe two, but usually it's just one. And I want you to really understand that paper. And it's a very good habit of getting into. If you're going to be in academia, you need to learn how to do that, to take 10 hours or 20 hours, whatever it is, to really, really understand a paper. Okay. So that is part 1.2. See you in part 1.3, where I'll talk a little bit about what likelihood means. Okay, see you there.